Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of GLP's 10 out of 10. And today we have with us LA-based designer Kille Knobel. After growing up abroad, Kille eventually made the move to the West Coast and settled down, graduating with a Bachelor of Arts in Lighting Design from Cal Arts. She went on to work for Light and Sound Design, LSD, and the famed Icon Moving Lights series, running the training program in North America. Training led to requests for Kille to program and operate shows. And then came tour requests, where she headed out with the likes of Bryan Adams, Megadeath, and the Bee Gees. Kille has also worked extensively as a programmer on a wide variety of television shows, including the Billboard Awards, the Super Bowl 31 halftime show, and many other series, including Jimmy Kimmel's talk show, Dance War, Survivor, and a ton more. Kille was the lighting director for Cher's farewell tour, although I'm not actually sure if it was the first, second, or third farewell tour, whatever number she's up to. More recently, Kille led a drive-through experience in Hollywood for the hit TV show Stranger Things. However, in addition to this extensive resume, Kille is probably best known for a 20-plus year relationship with the Seattle-based rock band Pearl Jam, serving as their lighting designer, during which time she's partnered with and created a solid design partnership with Spike Brandt of Nimblist. Kille has also been nominated for 2 Primetime Emmy Awards. Welcome, Kille Knobel.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. Right then, so let's have a go at some of the questions. So if we wind back to the beginning of your career, what was your first show as a designer?
This is kind of crazy to say. I feel like I did some small things here and there when I was with LSD. They put me out and, I would do some special events or parties and those kinds of things. But the first real show I did was actually Pearl Jam.
Okay.
And arguably, I had no business in the role, because if you would have read my resume at the time, it was not a very convincing sell in terms of my, background or preparation for the task at hand. But I just was in the right place at the right time. I had operated a tour for someone else, and they're a very loyal band, and I got along really well with everyone. And when it came back up the next time to go out, they offered me the design, and I was like, oh my God. I was both terrified and elated.
Right, pinch yourself moment.
Yeah.
So our next question is, have you ever had one of these kind of Spinal Tap moments where everything you thought was absolutely right on track, and then all of a sudden it wasn't?
One thing that does sort of jump out as kind of a Spinal Tap moment was surrounding the tour Temple of the Dog. So Temple of the Dog was kind of in some ways one of the first supergroups, and it was a band put together by Chris Cornell as a tribute to the late Andy Wood, who had just, passed away unexpectedly and way before his time. So a few years ago, they decided to get together and tour Temple of the Dog. It was a really big deal. And I partnered with Spike, and we were doing our first show in Philadelphia, and it was a theater show. So it was really small, really intimate. It was very bare bones, intentionally so. They wanted it to be really simple. And right in the 11th hour, the band said they wanted a tribute to Andy, and they wanted some sort of like statue carving Andy presence. And they wanted Andy to be kind of big, but Andy did not arrive for rehearsals. Andy did not get to the theater until after doors of the first show.
Oh.
And so we get the call that Andy had arrived, and we go out to the street, and we quickly realize that Andy is not going to fit through any stage door.
Right.
He's too big. And we're like, what are we going to do? The only place that Andy could fit through the theater was through the front door. So Andy was hoisted above these stagehands, like carrying him above their heads, almost like crowd surfing into the venue over the audience. And we're like, maybe no one will notice we're bringing this massive statue into the building. We just throw some Duvetine over Andy because they didn't want him seen until the very end of the show. Other tours, this would have been a real deal breaker. Like, you can't have a big statue on stage under Duvetine, but that's what we did. And, and so Andy still exists. He's in the Pearl Jam warehouse now.
Yes. Oh, fantastic. What would you say is the best piece of advice that anyone has ever given you?
My dad, for teaching me the importance of a strong handshake and the importance of making a good first impression through a handshake.
Right.
My mom, who really taught me more through modeling than giving me a single piece of advice, the importance of being able to assimilate into like a lot of different kinds of situations. And creatively, I think Spike actually, you know, early on when we were working together, he has this phrase and he uses it all the time as sort of like a measure when we're looking creatively at things. That's not to use too many crayons. And that really sticks with me, like in my own work when I'm like trying to evaluate something I'm looking at in the middle of programming. Too many crayons is never a good thing. You don't want it to look like a bunch of jelly beans, you know? Keep things simple.
Right. That's right. Focus on what's the important stuff.
Clean.
Yeah. Fantastic. That's great advice. Great advice for anybody out there listening as well. So, professionally, what would you say is your proudest achievement?
I don't know, maybe I'm getting sappy at this stage of my career and, you know, my age is starting to set in, but I'm feeling a little bit more sentimental about things. And I think the thing that really gives me a greater sense of fulfillment these days is looking at my position in the industry and trying to find more opportunities for mentorship. I had a tour a few years ago and there were a few women on the crew, and we had been to Europe, we had done a US run in South America. And so we had been together on and off for several months, and this one woman in particular. And at the very end of the tour, I'm flying home and she had quietly tucked this card, this thank you card in my bag. And I read it and it was just this really lovely thank you note. And it was one of the most powerful things that had happened to me in a long time, because it kind of pulled the curtains back on, well, maybe I need to take a better or a bigger role, not so much like informal mentorship, but I do have something to offer.
Indeed, indeed, absolutely. Obviously, you go out and tour a lot when the world is normal. But when you're at home, what do you normally do in your downtime?
Well, I hang out with my kids. So I have 3 sons. One's almost 16. I have a 13-year-old, and then my youngest is turning 12 next week. And I'm lucky when I'm home. I work on Kimmel, so that's a pretty respectable schedule, 4 days a week, and so I have plenty of time with them. And you know, I like to play tennis. I like to get outside. I love going to the beach and taking long walks on the beach. Just try to work on my house. It's normal, boring.
That's nice, just having that family time and kind of switching off from all of the hecticness of the work schedule. You must have visited, you know, hundreds of different venues by now. Do you have a particular favorite venue at all?
The ones that stick out immediately are the ancient Colosseum in Verona, which I was lucky enough to go to a couple times, and then the ancient amphitheater at the base of the Acropolis. I did a show at once. Right. So these are gigs that are horrible to gig in, right. You know, but they're so cool. Yeah.
But shows that those venues don't come up that often, because obviously a lot of them, I guess, are protected sites. So it's got to be something really, really special and take a long time to put together. Obviously, we mentioned, you know, we've been in various different forms of lockdown over the last many months. Musically, if you could only have one artist or one album with you to listen to, do you have a particular person or album that's your favorite that you'd always want to have around?
Well, my favorite artist of all time is Tina Turner.
Okay.
So probably Private Dancer.
Right.
But honestly, like if I was to be left with nothing to listen to, I would probably choose podcasts to listen to. I listen to a lot of music, but I tend to listen to more podcasts than I do music. So that's really what I listen to the most in lockdown, where there are some podcasts that I really was affectionate for.
If you could spin back in time and go and visit the teenage Kille and offer her one piece of advice, what would that be?
Probably not to be an apologist, especially back then. You were like trying to counteract the perception that in order to be a successful woman in this business, you had to be a ball buster, you know? And I was really afraid of being perceived that way. And so I tended to be a real apologist, you know, like I always like, I'm really sorry. I don't, you know, I hate to make you climb the truss at this time of day, you know, that light really needs to get swapped out. I wanted everyone to like me and be my friend. But I realized over the years that there's no reason to apologize. You know, there's no reason to feel sorry for asking people to do hard things, because we're all there willingly to achieve a task. And part of leadership is being strong, and that it is possible to be strong and confident and assertive and still be likable and get along with people and create a good sense of teamwork and camaraderie within a crew. And that it's okay to have high standards and high expectations and not to apologize for it.
Right. If you were able to sit down for a cup of coffee with one person, either living or past, who would that be?
Tina Turner.
Right.
So I was living in Dubai and we didn't get any concerts. The only artist that ever came through live at that time was Shakin' Stevens, and he played the ice rink. So at that time, some people would come and they would televise the concerts, and Tina came, and it was the Private Dancer Tour, which is why I'm so fond of that particular album. And they televised it, and there she was with her two dancers, and
right,
game changer.
Fantastic. Tina Turner. There we go. We'll note that one down. And now we get to our final question already. It seems to go so quickly sometimes. Once we finish the interview, your phone is going to ring, and it's going to be the US Olympic team.
Oh, God.
And they're going to call you up to, it's your time. You get to compete for Team USA. Now, it could be for the Summer Games or it could be for the Winter Games.
Okay.
The question is what's the sport they're going to call you up for? What have you always fancied having a go at?
I think tennis would be my sport.
Yeah.
I played as a kid and I really enjoyed it. And then I got into the arts and school, and I ended up going to art school when I was 15. So there were no sports there. And then I also went to art school for college. So there were no sports there. So sports kind of like disappeared from my life for a long time. And that's been one of my COVID inspired, like, okay, let's get back to some hobbies, you know? So yeah, I've taken tennis back up. So a year from now, I don't know if they're taking women pushing 50 on the Olympics team or on the Olympic team, but I'll try out. I'm sure I'll be Olympic ready in no time.
There we go. There we go. I think the one thing we've learned from this year is that nothing is impossible. Everybody can achieve. So maybe there's a bit more practice time. Obviously, the Olympics have been delayed, so got time to get.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they do. Isn't it supposed to be in Japan this summer?
Yeah, in Japan. Yeah.
It's a little unlikely, but I don't mean to be a pessimist.
No, I think still everything is everything is tentative. I think with any of those things, which is unfortunate, of course. But yeah, with vaccines rolling out, then there's positive signs on the way. Really positive signs. So that's right. Lots of that. Keeping it
too.
Great. Kille, it's been fantastic having you here. It's obviously, we really appreciate the time and continued, obviously, good luck in everything that's going on there. And obviously everybody can tune into Jimmy Kimmel on 4 nights a week and watch everything that you're doing there. And of course, always look forward to trying to see each other again in person as soon as possible when that's it gets back to normal.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was fun. It's nice to still keep tendrils in the business, because it's easy to feel pretty separated right now. So
Yes.
thanks for having me.
Yeah. Brilliant. Take care, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, Kille.
Bye.
Bye.